Hello, and welcome to this Divine Partnership Coaching video. This is going to be Step 8 for Path of the Empress. I'm going to say, we'll call this emotional discipline. And the main thing I want to talk about is being able to sustain your emotional consistency, your joy vibes and vibes of gratitude when union starts to get closer and you start to feel the push-pull energetic dynamic between you and your DM, which will heighten as you get closer because, well, either you've already been in relationship with them and the push-pull dynamic happened physically, well, I shouldn't say physically, in the 3D through your guys' ego, doing this push-pull stuff, or if you have not met them yet, it wants, any amount of you that has been involved in that in the past or is susceptible to that in the future, you need to be healed of that. The other thing is, the closer union gets, the less you tend to rely on the same level of, telepathic communications that have been previously coming in, and I think I'm going to do some side videos on that because I realized that I did not yet put that into the paths, so we'll go into that later. But I'm sure that many of you by now have noticed that you're getting, synchronicities and things like that that have been coming in, and when you get closer to union, you start focusing more on the 3D, and it's not yet time. The 3D and the 5D have not yet melded together, and even when they do, both in terms of just the health of your relationship and in terms of the wider work, the missions available for divine partnerships, you're going to need to be able to communicate intuitively, telepathically. And there are plenty of moments in general, just in relationships, where that is exceptionally valuable. A lot of people really wish for an intuitive relationship where you don't have to over-explain everything. It's easy, and when explanations are needed, they are understood without, needing a novel to understand them. And that first starts with learning to trust your intuition. Now, I've also been trying to do more work in relating these steps and lessons to things that we can look up and look more into. And I mean, being a tarot nerd, that's like the best thing I can think of, and also astrology. So with this step, I mean, the 8th sign in the zodiac is Scorpio, and it is all about emotional depth and intensity and passion and lust. It rules the 8th house, it's co-ruled by Pluto and Mars, and so it really takes you into the world of delusions and shadow and depth and things that get compartmentalized. And Scorpio is about diving deep into those emotional waters and really sussing out what is there and bringing it to the surface, any secrets, any skeletons in the closet. And that's relevant to the step because up to this point, you've probably already worked on bringing a lot of your skeletons out of the closet. And if you haven't, then now is the time to bring them up, is to allow those things to float up from the depths and work on them. Anytime that I want to say anytime that your divine masculine, they ghost you, or they pull away from you, or they seem like you sense something is odd and you need to pull away from them, that is a time specifically to work on you and figure out why it is that you feel unstable when you don't have a direct 3D connection with them. And over time, that's going to help you develop emotional stability and heal any sort of challenges with codependency. Now, we take that a step further. The 8th card in the major arcana of tarot deck is the Strength card. And there's no coincidence in that. And in the Strength card, you see usually a woman, but they're sometimes an androgynous character who has got her hands around the mouth of a lion. Now, it's not about her controlling the lion. The card is typically about learning to tame your more wild impulses. Like, you don't get rid of them, you don't lose them, you simply learn the ability of to when to roar and when to simply sit there and recognize that a lion does not need to show its teeth for all the other animals in the kingdom to know that it is a predator and it is dangerous. And also when to play. I mean, watch documentaries on lions. They play a lot more than we think. They are big kitties. And so the Strength card is kind of that, it's learning to build a certain amount of emotional fortitude no matter what is going on around you. And that's very relevant anytime that we have an emotional trauma triggered, which can happen through ghosting and fights and distancing and stonewalling and all sorts of things of that nature. And what we typically do when we're in karmic stages, we take that as a personal hit towards our self-worth. And we start to question, well, is it really going to happen? Is it, when is it going to happen? When are they going to tell me? Are we getting closer to union? Are we getting further away? Should I choose another path? Why aren't they talking to me? Does this mean that they've lied to me? Like, we go into all these trauma spaces, and it's most important when you hit that space to bring yourself back. Bring yourself back to neutral. And then I did a video about alignment made easy. Go and listen to that one, and it gets you back into alignment. And whenever you feel these push-pull stuff going on, go back to that. And also recognize you're not crazy. You're not sucking at getting this down. What often happens in divine partnerships and soulmate and twin flame connections is that as long as you are focusing, especially you, the feminine, when you are focusing on your divine partner, they feel that. They might not consciously feel it, but they feel it, and it fills them up, and it's good, but it also becomes an enabling thing as long as they are getting consistent connection from you. I mean, some of them, there are times when they need that. You're going to have to really learn intuitively when and where to allow them to draw energy from you. But there are plenty of times where spirit will find a way to tell you or to get you to remove yourself from overgiving of your energy to them, even just subconsciously. And what happens with that is that they feel that. Whether it's just you working on yourself and you're not even thinking about them, you're just enjoying what you're working on, they feel that you're not focused on them. Whether it's you decide that you're going to go on a couple of dates just for fun, and you're honest with them, the person that you're going to see, and you just decide to go do it, your divine counterpart feels that you're not focused on them, you're not thinking about them. And this is part of trusting in divine timing and in embracing this absurd in it, is that in those moments that you feel called to do that, it's both healing for you in recognizing that you can let the relationship go and it will come back to you because you are divine partners. And it is also healing in the sense that your divine masculine needs to learn to give themselves that energy. Because otherwise, one, union will probably slow down and be delayed. And two, when you have your union or reunion, if you don't have that healed, if you can't be stable without giving them energy and they can't be stable without receiving your energy, it's not reciprocal. And they're going to empty your cup and drain it, and it's not going to work. You're going to keep triggering the old stuff. It's not going to be a divine relationship. It'll be a karmic one. And this is why, dear divine empresses, it is so important for you to learn to flow in these moments. They're not all going to be comfortable, but they become comfortable the more you work on it. Now, to keep up with this pattern of it, the eights in the rest of the tarot deck. We have the Eight of Cups, the Eight of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, and the Eight of Swords. And they're all very important. And start with the swords. The Eight of Swords, you have a woman who she's blindfolded and she has her hands tied. And she's standing in a semicircle of swords, which represents thoughts, anxieties, things of that nature. And the lesson in the card is that her hands are not actually bound. And she could take them off at any point in time. She could take the blindfold off. In fact, she could just walk forward and be out of this self-imposed level of gratitude before she has to see it. And usually we have to see it intuitively first. Like, oh, like she is blindfolded, so she can't see that her hands are not bound in the way that it feels like they are. But if she listens to her intuition, she can go, oh, let me feel, oh, look, I can get out of that and I can take this off and I can move out of this, right? Then she moves into the 9 where she deals with her nightmares and anxieties. Deals with that, gets forward, gets to the 10 of Swords, allows that old cycle to die off, and she moves on into the Wands. Now, the 8 of Wands, let's see if I remember correctly. The 8 of Wands is travel and communication, and it is also, to a certain degree, a certain amount of boundaries, but typically the Wands deal with communication and sexuality and movement. And so that's dealing with the same thing as you're feeling you're feeling that need to communicate, and it is there. But remember, you don't need to communicate physically. It doesn't need to be a message to them directly. It needs to be you can communicate with them in the 5th dimension. You can communicate with them telepathically. You can write them messages that you can give them later. There are many different ways you can do it, and the Eight of Wands can also be about praying, messages to and from Spirit. You can pray to whomever is your preferred deity, and they will take messages where they need to go. You can work on that. Now, following that, you get the 8 of Cups, which that's the one where you see 8 cups lined up in front of the card, and then there's a person in the back walking away. And what it usually represents is an emotional journey, like you're going inward. It can also, though, be the card of the Lover returning. So remember, it can work both ways. Like when you it is a card about learning the emotional discipline and being able to have up boundaries and recognize that, I mean, there's 8 cups, so there's one missing in it, that people can come over that fence and join you on that journey, but they're really going to have to be careful not to knock over your cups. And same thing for you. If somebody else is going on an emotional quest, you need to be careful of that. There's a little bit of room open for some emotional connection, but not a ton. And that's a lot of what this step is about, is recognizing that if you've made it this far and you've not cycled back through the others too many times, then your DM is likely now on an emotional quest. And as that happens, you need to be able to withdraw without what's the best way to put it? You need to be able to withdraw simply because you sense intuitively that it is time to withdraw and have things that you can work on, rather than trying to do some sort of head games, like, saying, well, I'm going to ghost him because he ghosted me. If you're in that space, go back, go back to step 1, because that's still karmic stuff. By this step, when you're learning this emotional discipline, it should be much more about simply sensing that your partner needs a little bit of space, but not complete space. They do also, where they're at in the journey at this point in time, you're going to have to sense that, because although we are in time, where time is not necessarily linear. So you could be in step 8 while they're just hitting step 1 or 2 or 3, or you could both be in your step 8s. Either way, whether you're hitting your first cycle of this step 8 or you're in your 8th cycle of this step 8, you gotta practice this emotional discipline, both being able to take your emotional quests and to give them their emotional quests. And that leads you into the 8 of Pentacles, which is a card where you see a person working very diligently on a pentacle, and they've got the other 7 pentacles lined up, and they're all worked on, and it's about commitment and dedication and craftsmanship, and and really honing your craft. So this is that, taking the wisdom learned in the 7s, like from 1 to 7, and applying it. And this is where you learn to apply that. And at this point in time, you're also going to notice that as you withdraw, whether you're whether you're working on you, or you're thinking about dates, or you're focusing on other things, or the kids, or this and that, or you're whatever's going on, when you start to do that, you're going to notice that you then suddenly start having thoughts about your divine partner, whether you know them or not. Like maybe you don't know them and you're just thinking about it a lot. You're thinking about you need relationships, things like that, and it seems odd. Now, I did a video already that was actually a part of the Path of the Empath series about discerning the difference between your emotions and another person's emotions, between your emotions and spirit communication, and also how to know if you're around an energy vampire. Now, if you watch that video and also watch some of my videos about recognizing the difference between karmics and your divine partner acting as a karmic, you can really start to build your skills and ability to recognize when you are feeling something that needs to be worked on versus when you are feeling the push-pull of a divine relationship that is pre-union or pseudo-union, because you could also you could actually be with your partner, you could be in communication with your partner and still be feeling and seeing these push-pull in the 3D and energetically. And you've got to get to a place, dear Empress, where you can be stable no matter what is going on in there. Yes, be human, be angry, be sad, be all these different things, but more consistently, you be the stability. You be the Empress. Look up that card, Google it. She is chilling in her beautiful chair with her heart-shaped harp next to her, and she knows that all things flow easily to and from her, and she provides that sort of stability for her emperor, who then provides stability for everybody else. It's a very beautiful and rich dynamic, and as you become more disciplined, you will actually be learning the emperor energy, and as you become trusting of yourself, to trust spirit, to embrace the absurd, to withdraw your energy at the moments that you feel called to or that you get a signal to, you actually help your divine masculine learn how to be Empress. And that way, when you do come together in union, you are more stable with each other. Now, other than checking out some of the other videos that I've already made on discernment, the best thing that I can tell you in my experience on what to do in terms of when you feel that push-pull is, one, don't make any rules. Don't tell yourself, okay, I'm going to not talk to him for 3 days and see if he messages me back, or I'm going to go on a date and go and do all these distracting things to keep myself from messaging them, or I'm going to wait until they message me back, or, if you're doing that, examine why you feel the need to control in it. I would actually recommend that you just let control go. Apply what you've been learning thus far, and just get into yourself. Go for a walk, work in the garden, take a beautiful lavender vanilla scented bath or something, just relax. And if you feel like sending them a message, if you can, if you're not blocked from them or anything, do so, but be gentle. Remember, there's only that one space in the cups in there, in that wall in there, and remember that this is more about you honing your ability to be stable within yourself. And once you earn that for yourself, the number 8 is actually the infinity symbol, and it is nearing the end of a cycle, and then you start the cycle over again. The work is never done. You hit the upgrade, you hit the 360, but it's a spiral. You move up to the next stage. So once you feel that push-pull, then go back to working on you. Go back to the video alignment made easy and contrast made easy. Apply them in as many ways as necessary, and reach out. reach out to me, reach out to friends. You know, get your emotional toolkit together. I'll do a video about that too. In any case, I'm hitting my 20-minute mark, and I'm sure that my phone's about to tell me that I don't have any more space. So please reach out in the comments if you'd like to. Send me a message, madamthanatos@gmail.com, or subscribe. Just stay tuned. I guarantee these videos are going to get better and better.